Hello friends. It is cold, windy, and snowy outside today, which means it is the perfect time to hunker down at home and have a calm, cozy craft day tackling my DIY pile. I have honestly been putting most of these off for months. They've just been like sitting in a shameful pile in a corner. And the clutter has been plaguing my space and my mind. So today, I'm just gonna try to give it some intentional focus, enjoy the process, and hopefully also enjoy the satisfaction of getting things done and having improved a lot of these clothes. I'm gonna try to start with one that I hope will be a relatively easy, straightforward project to get the ball rolling. It is this shirt. You probably don't even recognize this because I thrifted it literally in like 2020 or 2021. And I don't even remember what was wrong with the neckline, but something was wrong with it enough that I just chopped it off. And then it promptly sat in a drawer at my parents' house for several years. And I've only recently recovered it and decided that I'm gonna try to fix this because I actually really like this shirt and I think I would wear it if I can just hem the neckline. All right, our first DIY is done. Is this the most perfect hem I've ever sewn? Absolutely not. No. But do I think it's serviceable enough to wear? Yes. And that's really all I need. This is so great because I've really been getting kind of bored with my winter tops. I have a rotation of like 7 long sleeve shirts that I've been wearing every day, every week. And it'll be great to have something new in the mix without actually having to get anything new, refreshing something old. Okay, next we're gonna do another pretty simple project, I hope. We're just gonna take in this mini skirt. This is a skirt I actually have already taken in previously, but I did it in a new way. I was trying to be creative and it didn't really work out. So I undid it and now we're just gonna retake it in again. I've already tried it on and pinned where I need to take in the excess fabric on the sides, so hopefully we can just sew it down and be good to go. The only potential trouble here is that this fabric is very thick, especially on the waistband, so I hope the sewing machine can handle it. Wish me luck. Okay, the needle immediately broke and fell out. Oh, update, it didn't break, it just fell out. Now I remember why I did this in a weird, creative way last time. It's because the side seams of this skirt are so thickly reinforced that it's kind of impossible to take it in and sew along that side seam. Is there a different way we can do this? Luckily, the answer was yes. There is a different way we can do this. I basically just retried on the skirt and repinned the darts scooted to the back of the skirt instead of the sides. This is actually kind of what I did for the previous alteration of this skirt, but for that one I tried to do like pleats instead of darts, and that looked weird. But this time I just did darts, which worked better. Our second project is done. Our next project is going to be this tank top, which doesn't look like a tank top right now because it has a lace-up back that is removed. This one will actually look pretty much the same while I'm wearing it before and after the alterations, but there's some internal structural issues going on here. Some seams that are coming apart, a little flap that's sort of hanging off on the side, some things that need a little reinforcement. So we're gonna just reinforce the interior of this tank top next. Fun fact, this is one of the first sewing projects I ever did. I sewed this tank top out of an old pair of pants by hand in 2020, and then I've sort of slowly reinforced different parts of it with the sewing machine over the years, and now it's time for another one. In hindsight, it's kind of crazy to me that this top has lasted me this long, but that's really the beauty of DIY and slow fashion. You can make something and then just improve it or mend it every time it needs it. Hello again. It is much later in the day now. It's actually night. I took a little break to go rock climbing and eat dinner. And now we're back for more mending and sewing and DIYing. Next up on my list is this midi skirt. This is a skirt I used to wear more, and then I got a new black midi skirt that I like better, and I was gonna get rid of this, but I think part of my issue with this is that the hem is sort of falling apart, and so whether I keep it or not, I would like to fix it first so I'm not passing along something that's falling apart when I could easily mend it myself. So we're just gonna re-sew down the hem on this guy. All right, our skirt is hemmed. The majority of our projects are already done. However, unfortunately, that first majority was also all of the simplest projects. So now we've got only a few left, but each of these might be a little trickier. Hopefully we'll get through all of them still. We'll see. The next thing I'm gonna try to do something with is this little jacket. As you may or may not be able to tell, this is actually a jacket liner. It's meant to go inside another jacket. It presumably would button on, as you can tell by the buttons down both sides of the front. And this actually came from my grandma, but the jacket that it goes with is missing. It's just the liner, but I thought this could be kind of cool as like a clothing item in itself. A little subversive, a little creative and artsy. I don't know. Well, some people think it looks dumb, probably, but I think it's kind of cool. I like the shape, I like the fabric, and I kind of like the buttons down both sides. It's almost funny. It's like making something functional and turning it into something intentionally unfunctional. The only thing is, it's got visible tags. We've obviously got this one on the back. Honestly, doesn't this seem like something like some cool trendy brand would put out on purpose though? Like a faux liner jacket that has like this little patch and some sort of little label on the exterior. I feel like that would be a thing. However, I think I'm gonna remove it. And then there's also a tag on the side that I'm gonna remove. So I'm just gonna like cut and seam rip these. Then our next project is this skirt that I thrifted in the summer with intentions of fixing the messed up waistband in the summer so I could wear it, and I never did, and I haven't worn it a single time yet, which is really embarrassing. The waistband is just like folded over inside, and it's also just a little too big anyway, so I'm gonna try to like open up the waistband, fix the elastic inside, or maybe put new elastic in, and then make it fitted to my body and sew it back up. Being so real with you guys, I don't know why I thought these would be harder and more intensive than the other ones. I guess because they involve more steps than just purely sewing, but these were truly actually so easy to do, as were virtually all of these. And I honestly think one of the biggest reasons I put these off for so long was just because I was being so indecisive about like exactly how to do them, which ones to do first, which ones really needed it versus which ones I could just live with. And that indecision caused me to overcomplicate the process and made all of these processes seem much more complicated than they actually were in my own mind. Something I've realized about myself recently is that I have a habit of being incredibly indecisive in general. My impulse in every situation is to just like hem and haw and consider what to do from all angles, and then I frequently end up doing nothing, which really isn't useful. So something I'm working on lately and hoping to improve upon in 2026 is to be more decisive. Spend less time and energy thinking about what to choose and instead just choose something and put the time and energy towards actually doing it. I feel like it's a little embarrassing that my indecision even applies to these simple sewing tasks, but it really does. So hopefully this is a good step in the right direction for me. Okay, let's get back to our projects with a skirt update. I opened up the waistband and took the elastic out. It had this weird fold in it, and I was trying to iron it flat to potentially reuse it and put it back in, but I think I damaged the elastic with the iron. And also the elastic was definitely just like very old and pretty stretched out. So this one's gonna have to be on hold until tomorrow when I can get some new elastic for the waist at the craft store. I have a Michael's gift card from Christmas, brag, so I can get waistband elastic. The next project I want to do is the most embarrassing one in this whole video because it is this jacket that I bought this fall. It was at like a vintage market and it was only $10 and it's so cool. So I bought it, but I knew from the start I did not like the length on me and I wanted to crop it. Not a ton, but a good few inches. So I put it in my DIY pile and then I forgot about it for like 4 months. Buying something and then just never wearing it a single time and forgetting you bought it for months on end is so embarrassing to me. It is not something I normally ever do, but I did totally forget about it until I was collecting up my projects for this video. So my goal and my vision here is to crop this so I can actually start wearing it. Sorry it's clanking so loudly on the table. I might have to check out some YouTube tutorials before I commit to this because I really don't want to ruin this thing. Let's see what we can do. Okay, great news for the like 3 of you watching this who are actually trying to crop a lined coat in a really nice, clean, professional way. I found an incredible tutorial that I ended up following for this. Not to spoil anything, but her method turned out so great. The instructions were very clear. I will obviously link it below. With that, I'm not really going to try to summarize what I'm doing here because I think that would be neither useful nor entertaining. If you want to know what I'm doing, just go watch the tutorial. It's great. Those of you with a keen eye may also be noticing that in addition to having the tutorial up on my computer, I am also cycling through many other YouTube videos to keep me entertained while working on this. This is really exposing me as a person who has YouTube on in the background basically at all times. Either that or podcasts. I'm a huge podcast girly. I wonder if it says anything about you, whether your primary background entertainment is like music, podcasts, YouTube, TV, or audiobooks. I would like to hear theories on this, if you have any. What type of person am I if my go-tos are podcasts and YouTube? I would also like to know your background entertainment of choice. Please sound off in the comments and let me know. Oh, and you know what would be really fun? If you comment your background entertainment of choice and then also like where you're from and your astrology sign and maybe some of your other hobbies. Is this asking too much? I just think it would be interesting for research. Let me know. Okay, I will tell you a little bit about what I'm actually doing here just because I think it's cool. I basically seam ripped the lining away from the jacket along the whole bottom edge so we can see inside, see the guts of the jacket. Fun jacket autopsy. And then I'm cutting off a bit of the jacket to make it shorter and folding the rest up inside the lining, which will also be folded over inside and then sewn shut. So it'll all just be neatly tucked away in the jacket innards. Isn't that cool? Isn't it amazing how sewing can work this way? Hello friends. It is the next day, and by day I mean night because it gets dark so early and I had to do other stuff all day. But now I've returned to finish what I started and complete these DIY projects. Earlier today, got some elastic for the waistband of this skirt. We're gonna do that first. As you can see here, I almost never actually measure things while sewing. I much more frequently just sort of mark and cut things to suit my body because it just feels more intuitive to me. So I did that here with this elastic for the waistband and then just threaded it back through the waist channel. Then I just sewed the 2 ends of the elastic together and then just sewed the little hole I opened in the waist channel back closed. I think ripping open seams to pieces that are already professionally finished to make changes like this can feel really intimidating because you feel like you'll never be able to seal it back up quite as well, but I've actually found opening and then resealing existing seams is one of the most clean, professional looking options because everything is already cut and marked and folded into the right shape for there to be a seam there. So this is all to say, don't be afraid to open up seams on your clothes for an adjustment. For me, it generally ends up being easier to do and easier to reseal than I expect, and often easier than other types of sewing and adjustments. All right, our skirt waistband is done. Our cropping is all ironed and pinned on this jacket. And now all we have to do is finish it, which I'm going to do by hand, because that is the way the person in this YouTube tutorial did it, and I think that will give us the cleanest finish. It's also going to take longer, so I'm just going to settle in here cozily on the couch, hand finish this, and that should be our last project done. Okay, first of all, no one say anything about my posture. This is the nature of hand sewing on your lap, and I accept it. Should I have been working at a table for the sake of my health? Maybe, but I wasn't, and this is where we are, and it's fine. Anyway, second of all, I have to tell you all that I was honestly kind of shocked at how quickly this really went. I did it in maybe like an hour while watching TV with my partner. It honestly flew by because of that, and like, I really shouldn't be surprised by how well hand sewing works at this point. I know people exclusively sewed by hand for thousands of years, and yet I am constantly in awe of how much you can do with it. Also, I know it's kind of late in the video to be saying this, but let this be a reminder that you do not need a machine to start sewing. This was the most intensive project I did, and it did not use a sewing machine at all. Everything I did in this video could definitely also be done by hand. Again, it'll take longer, but like not that long if you have the free time to spare. All right, y'all, with that, we have finished all my projects for the week. These feel so good to finally have done. So let me just show you the final reveals. First up, we've got this top, now neatly hemmed around the neckline. I am actually so excited to have this back in my wardrobe after all these years with just that one simple fix. I really wish I knew what prompted me to chop off the original neckline. I think it must have just been super damaged or had a bunch of holes in it or something. Either way, can't believe it took me this long to do this, but I'm thrilled to have it. Next, we have our brown mini skirt. This is also something I'm thrilled to be able to actually wear now. I do think maybe the darts should have gone a little lower. They still look slightly off to me, but I still think this is totally wearable now. It fits and looks perfectly acceptable. I think much more wearable than before. Plus, if I ever want to go in and redo the darts to be longer, that should be pretty easy. Overall, I'm just excited I can wear this. Next, our black lace-up tank top. I'm showing you the insides here so you can see how much more stable and secure it is. Wow, look at that. No loose pieces flapping around. Incredible. Feels good to have this nice and secure. And of course, it still looks just as good, if not better, when it's actually on as well. Here we have the black midi skirt. I feel like the adjustment is a little harder to see here because it's such a small detail, but hopefully you can tell the difference between the hemline before and after. It's definitely cleaner and smoother now. I honestly still don't know if I'm going to keep this skirt or pass it along, being indecisive again, but regardless, it's in better shape now for whoever will use it. Now we have our little jacket liner turned jacket. This was very, very simple, just removing the tags, but I think it looks really cool. Turns out, constructs of what counts as clothing and how it is meant to be worn are pretty much made up. If I wanted to make this look even less like a liner, I could remove the buttons, but like I said, I kind of like that they're rendering the useful useless while also nodding to the item's original use. They're like vestigial buttons. I like it. I'm intrigued to see how I'll style this. Next, we have this skirt waistband, which really is a lot less clear on camera. I'm not even sure how well you can really tell the difference just looking at it, but I promise you, in real life, while wearing it, it's made a world of difference. Partly in that I think it just looks smoother and less bunched up and bulky, but even more so in how it feels. Without that waistband bunching, it just lays much more comfortably, and it also fits better, so it doesn't constantly feel like it's going to fall down. Thank God I can finally wear this. I'm so excited. And finally, we have this cropped grommet toggle jacket. I am incredibly proud of my work on this. I mean, I really like this length. I'm much happier with it, but I'm also so happy with how the actual sewing looks. There are no visible stitches on the exterior, and the interior looks so clean and polished. The lining has been perfectly maintained. I'm honestly probably prouder of the inside than I am of the outside, just because it took a lot more effort than it would to just like cut it off, you know? But I'm also very happy with the outside and very excited to wear this. Thanks so much for spending some time with me this week to work on this mending and alteration. I hope it provided a moment of calm and coziness and maybe a little creative inspiration for you. I'd love to hear your favorite pieces that I worked on in this video, or any of your own crafting, upcycling, sustainable fashion habits you've been cultivating lately. I want to hear about all of them in the comments. And I heard if you do leave a comment, watch another video, like maybe this one, and subscribe, you will never buy something with intentions of altering it and then forget you bought it and let it sit unused for months on end. Not that anyone ever would do that, of course.